1 2 testing. English channel 1 2 1 2
What channel should I be using?
4.
4? ¿Está en el 4? El 4. Strange. It's not working on 4.
No?
No. Let me just try 2 because I found it.
Chequeame este equipo.
Ella no tiene el 4, pero esa no es. Ella. Ella debe intentar 4.
Cualquier cosa técnica, tú lo hablas con él. 1 2 1 2, canal en inglés. 1 2, canal 4, canal en inglés. 1 2, English channel. 1 2, English channel.
It's working.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
All right. Welcome. Let's check now. How's noise? No noise? Okay. Te lo mantengo abierto para que
Pero
entre ruido.
sí,
Ok.
sí.
Ahí.
Sí,
¿Puedes hablar?
Sí, ok. Hola, 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 hola.
sí, sí, cuando él esté adelante, mejor la antena está allá.
Hello, hello, testing. Okay. All right, thank you.
La jovencita, oye, hoy no nos han traído el briefing de el que te trajeron ayer, que hubiera sido bueno.
No, porque ayer era lo de la inaugural. Hicieron algo especial.
A ver qué es lo que tenían. Bueno, un panel, sabrá Dios, el panel de hoy en la mañana.
Creo que puro paneles también.
Sí, son paneles todos. Estoy viendo a ver.
Entonces, si tú notas que son extranjeros, se lo ponen.
Mapa de inversiones y su vinculación con los compromisos de la obra. Cuánto Rivera, Speaker, Rosana Mazora, Jesús Rivera, Rodolfo Radical de Martín, Franco, debe ser François.
Digo, de hecho, ahí son menos.
Martín Franco, Roberto Ramirez, Roberto, todos son Spanish,
Latino. ¿Está picando?
¿Todo bien, Don?
dale para allá.
¿Cómo le va?
Bien, ¿y tú?
¿Todo en orden?
Todo en orden. Gracias.
Madre, ¿cuántos años ustedes tienen esto?
40.
No va a seguir, ¿no? ¿Verdad?
Vamos a seguir.
Así que tú quieres.
Falta unos 20 bares de acuerdo.
Sigue preguntando.
No, porque son 40 años.
Yo fui de los que debutó haciendo traducción.
La carrera, 40 años. Eso es más. Eso es casi 2 cuartos de medio siglo.
Dándole la huella.
2 cuartos de medio siglo. De un siglo.
Así se va.
Eso es casi después.
Estamos usando solamente dos.
En ese entonces, Nobel Alfonso.
Maestro, ¿y a quién famoso usted recuerda que usted le hizo una traducción? O sea, un evento famoso que usted le hizo una traducción.
Oh,
¿Usted recuerda? Usted diga, eso fue uno de los eventos más importantes que yo hice.
de los más importantes fue en la Cancillería, no me acuerdo qué era. Pero fue una conferencia en que tenía 12 traductores.
12.
Inglés, español, francés, portugués y árabe.
Y árabe. ¿Y usted cuántos idiomas domina?
6, pero
¿Sí?
para fines de traducción nada más que 2.
Dos.
Español y francés y portugués.
Ok. Ok.
A nosotros no me atrevo.
No, es que
Se oxida. El
Sí, sí.
idioma se oxida. Si no se practica, se oxida.
igual que la matemática.
Ey,
Así mismo la matemática, que no lo diga matemática,
ey.
se le olvida hasta cuánto es 2 más 2.
Sí,
El que no jode con matemática dice 2 más 2,
hay que pensar.
4. Y usted no pertenece a la lentitud en
No,
esta
no,
vaina. Eso es que hay que
absolutamente.
escuchar y tirar, escuchar y tirar, escuchar y tirar. Y lo duro es lo más bacano que yo me encuentro de ustedes, porque yo lo he escuchado, yo me he quedado escuchándolo a ustedes, es que ustedes incluso usan términos para cualquier cosa rápida, y tira un término y te arranca como digo yo, la crema, y cómo habla tan rápido.
Acuérdate que lo que uno está haciendo es interpretar,
No traducir.
no traducir.
Sí, eso es por ahí, por eso es.
Porque para traducir tú te sientes en una mesa
Y,
con
y
un papel
con
y
un papel traduce.
vas traduciendo al paso.
Ok, son interpretadores, sí, de verdad, entendí.
Pero que eso, la interpretación incluye tú interpretar el humor del tipo, que el tipo lo está haciendo de los riéndose, tú tienes que hacerlo con ese tono, si el tipo está
Wow.
tú tienes que hacerlo con ese tono.
Ok.
Que él hace un chiste, tienes que hacer el chiste.
Por ejemplo, hubo una joven que subió en la segunda parte, en la tarde, ella comenzó muy normal.
Y después arrancó
¿Usted
a
no arrancó?
millones.
¿Ustedes percibieron eso?
Sí.
Yo tuve que bajar el micrófono. Ella arrancó.
Oye, comenzó muy bien.
Y
recién,
después así.
Y después arrancó como política.
Oiga, mire, y la vena se le veía así, la vena. Digo, Dios mío, pero ella está como guapa.
Esa fue
Estaba
la,
en un discurso político.
esa
¿verdad?
fue la de esa
Y hacía así.
la de esa
Salcedo.
Y así, así, digo yo, pero ¿y qué? Y cada vez bajando el micrófono más, y el micrófono a todo lo que da. Digo, Dios mío.
se aceleran.
Good morning. Good morning to all. We invite all those that are in the back to come up to the first rows and of seats, please. My name is Juan Cruz Vieira. I'm a specialist in the Inter-American Development Bank BID, and it's a pleasure to be here. We also have the possibility, and we're making a light filming of that people can hear us somewhere or over the globe. And greetings to those that are on TV. We have a panel, a luxury panel. It will be very dynamic, and that's what we hope. And we will be talking about this initiative, which is the regional initiative of the Inter-American Bank, which is called Investment Map, which starts with the public service in 2014 in Colombia and has been transformed to a very useful instrument in 13 countries of the region to gather and develop and share information. Countries have advanced from sharing public service experiences to budget, construction, expenses, social expenses, purchasing, programs, government programs, and so on. And these panelists will today tell us some of those functionalities and how this instrument and these efforts of overlooking the transparency and the use of the public resources, how this is connected with the principles and the commitments associated to the open government. I will be sitting down. I just wanted to give you the welcome, and we will start with this panel immediately. Thank you. We will start without any order of priority in the order that we are sitting. I would like to start with you, Roxana. I would like you to present yourself and that you tell us those innovations, those fundamental subjects that Argentina has been practicing, and how is this connected with the open government, and how this has been supporting your country to share information of relevance to the citizens. Thank you, Juan Cruz. Thank you all for connecting today. And there we will just be sharing the experience of Argentina with the area, which is the direction of transparency of the Ministry of Public Works. If we should think about two things, it's some kind of dark, not only in Argentina, but all in Latin America, that people think that public work does is very discretional and very secret. This is one of the practices that we find, or the ideas that we find, when we want to make a transparent government or administration. That inequality has genders and ages. We have to prioritize the science of public works. From there, we have been building with the support of the bank, with the investment map, And the region, all of Latin America, is associated with policies of public works where what we want to do is to civilize all the infrastructure that we build in the Ministry of Public Works. We want to close the gender and all the gaps that we have, and the works that we carry out to favor the women and the more poor. It's important that we close the gap about how the public perceives what we are doing. We have information which has to do with the rights of the civil population, and this is innovative in Argentina. But we also have the support of the map of investment map, and we have an observatory where the universities, the Chamber of Commerce, and the unions have and issue their opinion, and they help us improve this platform to put the click for information to the Office of Anti-Corruption. There is projects not only of public works, so that it will be an information for the private sector, so that you know in what is the money being invested and in Argentina, and the experience that we have in the subject. The other subject is that we have a federal government, and what is important is that these instruments can reach the different levels of the national government. So the platform has a map where you can enter, see the works, the public works that are going on. And today we are working with the provinces and the municipalities of Argentina to have a federal reach, and in a very certain way to the citizen. But it's not only that we have the information, but that this information is shared with the citizenship, so that they can control us and watch over us and watch over the policies. Thank you, Roxana. Maybe a couple of questions for the benefit of all the audience. There are two things that are fascinating of Argentina and how you have been carrying out this subject. The country is have broken all the schemes, and you have more than 1.5 million users of your platform. And this has generated a series of comments, many times constructive and sometimes negative. But it is what it is. And how you have dealt with this and how you have received this dynamic of participation of the citizens in some projects, how this has been impacting the decision-taking of having a channel where the citizens can express their demands and make questions, without having to go through a process that has to very difficult way to reach the access to public information and so on. How this has impacted you, and if what lessons have you learned from this experience? The number of users that you have, and more participation and questions. I think that the investment map is locomotive for the scheduling of public policies. On one side, to think how this platform can activate that the citizenship is informed. We started with 600 public works. Now we have more than 6,000 on the platform. It's the platform that has the greatest reach in the region, and the Minister of Public Works is the first one to have had and used this platform in communications. And TV programs are available for everybody who wants to check in. And that generates an effect that the citizens know the effects of this public works. And through the module of civil participation, we have another channel that nourishes with us with new information and question. There's a joint number of policies that are being applied connected to the system of the public works, so I cannot know what comes in of the platform because it comes from a public works where all the areas of the ministry, the architects, everybody that's doing some public work participate in this process. And when somebody asks me, I ask some determined architect or engineer and ask them what to reply, and then we reply immediately. And we have incorporated many improvements based on the questions of the citizens, information that has been out of date, and so on. We have been taking care of this. The users in the south of Argentina, one of the proposals was why the QR of the map of investment is published. Why don't we make a neighbor to say what they think of the public works that we're carrying out? So we are nourishing our information with information, and the public works are improved in this way. Thank you, Rosanna. This brings us to a transition to Dominican Republic. Martin Franco, Investment Director of Dominican Republic. It's a pleasure to have you here, and you're the host country, so thank you for receiving us in the name of all the participants and the International Development Bank. Martin?
Would like you to tell us about the plans of the Dominican Republic facing the future. How do you think you will be able to improve these tools, which in the end of the day are flexible? But the idea is that they transform themselves and acquire new functions. But before that, we want to connect ourselves to what Rosanna had mentioned, and that has to do with the usage. You're preparing a training for journalists, which was first done in Costa Rica, by the way, and basically investigative journalists who can take the information from the investment map, build stories as a bridge between the public administration and the citizens to transform this information that sometimes seem cold. As Rosanna was saying, you can add value to it with pictures, with visualizations. This is good, but the truth is we have to be aware that the journalists play a main role in transforming this into investigation stories, and not necessarily stories that are negative. In some cases, there's a possibility of having, saying, for example, a bridge will be built to connect the school with such a community, as an example. We would like you to share some of the ideas of the future. How do you see the investment map in Dominican Republic, but also what do you expect to obtain from this training for investigative journalists? Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Juan. As you were saying, we're organizing a course for journalists. It's a specialized course where a group of journalists will be trained on how to use the investment map and how to exploit the data there. The truth is that we have a lot of expectations with the course because we understand that would allow us, investment map has been since it has been launched, but it's still not. It's not still active. It's a passive tool. It doesn't have a lot of traffic of users. It's not well known. That's the truth. One of our expectations is that the journalist helps us to expand the idea and to promote this instrument with the journalists, but not only with them, but as they start using this tool and include this as a source of information, this will also help us to bring to us users from the rest of the population. It's going to help us to have a productive use of the tool. What do I mean? These modern tools, these technological tools, usually call the attention of people and see how pretty they are, how well done it is, and but we only get a few clicks. What we hope so is that the map investment map has a lot of potential. So the idea is that these journalists learn how to exploit the tool to get the true sense of it in the language that is useful for a journalist. Sometimes they can't handle Excel or make a table. So these are some of the things that we hope to teach these journalists, so they can get better benefits from the app. Sometimes break with the barriers of access to information that some journalists may have. If in our case, we have an office of free access to information, and all the information is available. Sometimes journalists require information in a second, very quickly, and sometimes we don't have it at hand. We have had situations where, for example, they might ask for information on the Wednesday when the information came out on the Monday. But the investment map will allow the journalists not having to wait or ask for the information from the official source, or what that is, without the bureaucracy. Sometimes they don't have the information because of some delays, and we might not have the information with the urgency they need. So this is an opportunity so that the press and the citizens have access to official information, and in a very quick time. I believe that it is also an opportunity to promote the idea that our country has been very centralized, politically speaking, and also the public policies have been centralized, like in the capital, Santo Domingo, and not too much attention has been placed in the rest of the country. So the idea of this course is that the journalist that covers the problems at a national level, but also to expand the information of this tool to the local media outside of the capital, and they might have difficulty sometimes to follow up on a certain project, but they might not have the way to channel this information. So I believe that another benefit for the journalists, sometimes they have concerns about the lack of training. So in this way, the journalists will have training in a very, very good area, in a very useful area. Thank you very much, Martin. And we will have more a chance to expand this information. I believe that the idea of reaching the local communities is fundamental. As a representative of civil society, we will listen to more information on this topic. But now we would like to introduce Roberto Ramirez, who is here from Honduras. Roberto, it's a pleasure having you here with us. Honduras is one of the youngest members of the investment map, a family. It became part of it not too long ago, and you have done a phenomenal job to integrate in the first version of the investment map, project of investments, budgets, public contracts, bids, thanks to the leadership of the government in this area. And I would like to start by asking, how do you believe that this platform can help the compliance with compliance of these commitments? Thank you, Roberto.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. In first place, thank you to the team that in 5 months was able to support us, and we will have the platform available for the public. So it's thanks to all the team. And the coordination of the new authorities of the government has helped a lot to have this done. Making some history where we were and how we are and we are going, and how the platform can help us generate the synergy between the population and the government. For those who do not know the history, after the coup d'etat, it generated a lot of problems in transparency and reduction of accounts and corruption. This linked to all the institutions of the country. There was a lot of loss of confidence in the authorities, and the government before used boxes, little boxes called fideicomisos, where each one, according to the project that they wanted to generate. What happened with this? You are specialists, so so that through finance and we were able to make these resources to be available for the public. So we also had a law of secret that allow these institutions to use the monies according to their own criteria. So when the new government comes in January, at the end of January, one of the observations to make a change, a social change that was needed, there was not only structural change, but of leadership. It was necessary to have transparency within the use of the resources, because you cannot request the population to have a change and a confidence if you don't see and show that change. So then we eliminated the law of secret, and the fideicomisos were eliminated, more than 65 that were all over the place through the public works, and they were all again administered by the treasurer of the country. There are many still going on, but there were many little boxes that were minor. They had finance governments all over the place. This has been a great job and a great work, but we are gathering all these little boxes into one place as under control of the local government, the national government. The use of resources, the public resources, has to be shown to the society, to the people. So we did conferences, workshops, information with the international organizations and institutions and the academy. And within this communication, we thought of the idea of having a platform in which the Inter-American Development Bank could help us concretely. And we really appreciate this because I remember in April we started the conversation between the high authorities, and due to the commitments, we made the teams that were necessary, and we started working. So by today, we have, which is one of the subjects that is appropriate, is the public investment. The majority of the problems in transparency and information was created by the projects, the programs. So if we didn't have that information, it was very little we could do and show to the society. So in view of this, we are still in the stage in which we are developing this, but with the consultation with the civil society personalities, there is an interest, we know that there is an interest to create and make this happen. We see the need that the population empowers on over this platform and shows that the use of the platform generates on one side of fiscalization of the population and the future to be possible to improve as a government or as public officers. Thank you, Robert. Again, a pleasure to have you here with us. I'm going now to have Teodora Ricardo, of the Director of Budget of the Ministry of Finance of Paraguay. But not before I briefly say a story on Paraguay. Paraguay, next to Colombia, Costa Rica, are the first countries who has advanced in the great opportunity that exists along visualizing information, public information in COVID. We use the platform, they use the platform on the use of the resources that were destined to care for the pandemic. And there were modules that were put in place and helped to have better information, but a channel to make questions, to see what was being done to fight against the pandemic. I'm talking about the beginning of the pandemic in May of 2020. This module was already in place in Paraguay, and later it was it had information on the budget, and then they had the stage of planification of the budget and how this was integrated with the public contracts. Paraguay impressed to the investment map a new ingredient to adhere new information, but it takes a lot of coordination and the information that the data talk between themselves. And we who are on the other side, we know that our challenge of phenomenal changes because the public administration in all countries works very silently, very secretly, and now we're trying to break all these schemes to have a better integration of information. But the effort of coordination continues to be very important for the citizen to receive something of quality and not to say what has planification to do with the budget and so on. So Teodora, congratulations to you and your government for what you have done, for the determination of adding better information to the public. but I would like you to tell us what you did to be able to coordinate these entities for the language to be a common language between all the institutions and how they are thinking and the future plans to continue improving this instrument.
Good morning. Thank you, Juan. Really, it's a great pleasure to be here today, and to especially to speak about what is something very important in Uruguay, which is this. There's not much to say because you have said everything. Well, let me explain briefly how we advanced. The truth is that the tool investment map is a strategic tool, and even though it's true that what like Juan was saying, Paraguay began with this in the year 2018, developing as an access to public investment. In the beginning, it only had the projects of investments focus on public works, agriculture, which helped us and served as a basis. And from this, well, this created an interest of increasing it, increasing this universe. I'm passionate with the evaluation. When you see something negative, you have to change this into positive. It is true, 2020 was a very difficult year to fighting against the pandemic. So the investment map was transcendental in this moment. Having this tool was incredible. When the pandemic began in 2020, there was a law, a decree that established that the use of the resources of 1.6 million dollars, 1.6 billion dollars, these resources have to be determined where they were going. So the law, in one of its articles, demanded a coordination among some institutions, public contracts, the Ministry Against Corruption, the Technical Ministry of Planning, Communications, etc., the Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of Finance to work in a coordinated way in order to show that and to prove that these resources were being well executed. So coordination was really important because of this law, but not only because of the mandate of the law, but because of the emerging need of showing the information to the citizens who were staying home because of the pandemic. So we had to learn to work from our homes. And the citizens reported and demanded information, and we worked in a coordinated way to handle these resources. On these lines, I say that it's important the investment map in Paraguay, because beyond working in a coordinated way with all these institutions, we're able to sit down and what else can we do? What else can we show from our technical places, like budget, for example? Budget is very technical. So we have to try and show in a simple way. So the investment map was very important in this aspect, to show how a budget is made, how it is constructed, and really how the money is being invested. Besides this, something which is fundamental, to show the bottlenecks that exist in the execution of the resources, to show the degree of corruptions which did exist in this moment of the pandemic, that well, we should be very transparent and careful with the resources. From here, we learn that we should work showing this information in a simpler way, in a more dynamic way, in a friendly matter, in a friendly way. The information have to be secure. A technician has data is very technical, but you have to simplify them in order to find the information. So I would point out that being able to have this platform in 2018 allowed us to have a road that was already traveled. In Paraguay, we had some information on the tools, but with this, we have matured many aspects in transparency, and in the 2020, following up on this, the, 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 the model of Paraguay results is a new platform which is very dynamic, where it links the planning with the budget. Uh, Currently, we want to advance in the different axes of the budget, the transversal axis of the budget. A lot of people demand a lot more from budget than what we can offer technically. We want to see how much we are investing
Café con leche, ¿tú entiendes?
in climate, in in in, in the youth, with the children. All of these things are shown in budget, but we are convinced that with the investment map, we will continue to to create more interest in the demands of the citizens. For the future, well, we don't want to stop. Our if we continue to have the support of the central bank, we will continue to advance. We have still a long way to go to develop a table of controls which is analytic, to accept to detect immediately any corruption, any failure in the executions. But in terms of in terms of budget, redirect these resources so we have an optimum function. So we would like to advance in that on those lines. On the other hand, we still want to reach the beneficiary directly. I talk a lot about budget because this is where I put all my efforts. But we want to know which is the final destination of these resources. So we continue to advance on this. I will leave it here and thank you very much. The investment map meant a before and an after, and an effort of a dynamic coordination among institutions in times of the pandemic, and the future of continuing to advance for the benefit of the resources. To add the public sector, the NGOs, the civil society, and the audits made by all the citizens, we won't fail. Thank you very much. On the contrary, thank you, Theodora. A couple of topics that I would like to point out that were very interesting. First of all, the whole team of the investment map learned more from Paraguay than what we were able to offer, not only for Paraguay, but all of you, all the analysts, those that worked and taught us how to do things, but also the groups of the civil society, and I'm going to mention this, which criticize us and so this has to be improved. We can understand this. This should be done in a different way. So in the process of opening, uh, 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 to help this become useful to in every country, not only in Paraguay, this this these lessons were taken to all the countries that are invested that are involved with investment map. The key word here is listening, validate, show, articulate with different audiences, make focus groups to have these small details to bring them out, to understand why information is presented in such a way. So I'm very thankful, and as I have said in privately, we have learned a lot more than you than we have been able to give. Thank you, Juan. I don't know if I mentioned it. The tool of accountability was done in record time. It was began in March 2020. By the end of April of 2020, we had that model. Uh, the accountability has 1.0 and 2.0 because we're able altogether to say where we had to improve. And in less than 15 days, this tool was in use and had been improved according to all the information we received from the citizens. I agree. The other point is that shows this is that all the countries is that these platforms are never are we're never forced with these. This is what the countries want them to be. If we have to start with investments and budgets and purchases, the countries make this tool, which is can be also always improved. But it helps the countries make better decisions, and we see it specifically in the public function, but also to generate a climate of open businesses, to generate more information in terms of information for the citizens.
We will now have Jason Rivera of the Ministry of Planning and Economic Planning of Costa Rica, Medio Plan, better known. I will start with the comment, a fast comment. Costa Rica was the first country of the region that I know of the world that made an experiment on the national level with public investment. We had the honor to participate and support this effort with universities and supported by the academy. But what was done in Costa Rica? Not all the projects were put into place. The Costa Ricans wanted to know what happened with the platform, what was the impact of the platform. So what they did is to have 30% of the projects and in an aleatory way, with the support of the university, they uploaded those projects, that the software that made the selection, upload them, and after a year, see what had happened. What happened was that the projects that were the projects that were within the platform, that were transparent, had a better physical and financial execution. In some cases, more than a 10% improvement. What did this mean? The bridges, the roads were made with 8 and 10% better and faster, and even 18% to 20% benefits. Anybody can check it and download it. That means that the transparency has an impact. I would like to have impact to explain what is the ideas that you have associated to this impact that we clearly saw in the experiment of Costa Rica, and what are the future plans of Costa Rica to continue uh, deepening in this instrument and the knowledge associated. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for the invitation. Really, we share for the information shared by the fellows that are here. This will help us for the second question that you made. Maybe put some context within those that don't know Costa Rica. Costa Rica is a small country, 51,000 square kilometers. We have 5 million inhabitants. Without so, it's a very beautiful country. So you are all invited. And if you want a recommendation, I'm a promoter of tourism, frustrated tourist guide of Costa Rica. Another characteristic that we have particularly is that we have many companies that are public from the state. Some compete with the private sector. And as we commented, the projects that we have of roads, hospitals, electricity, public works, and so on, we have many projects, and those are being handled by software that were not very friendly with the investment. So what happened? What happened in that moment is that if a chief officer of the Institute of Public Works wanted to do a project, what he did was to challenge the web page, which is not very friendly. It would take another whole day to be able to explain the project, but it was not accessible in the most easiest way. Finally, what they did is of writing a letter to the ministry to have the information. The ministry would contact us, and then we interpreted what the minister was asking, and that took a long time, bureaucratic time. And we said it was a frustrated telephone call. That has some impact in very cases significant, because before the answer got back to the officer, maybe it was too late. When we started with the investment map, we selected those projects, aleatory election, but some were specific. The institutions that participated were not aleatory, they were selected. And that's why it had so much impact. Project of the sewage, health, and public works. That's what we selected. And the instrument of investment map was the description of the project, its executives, its instrumentals, the financing part, and some precise information that the citizenship wanted or requested. So what we did is to cover those that were requested by the citizenship, and for those who wanted to consult it in general way. That helped us to establish something that the government officer didn't have to wait all the time to get the information, but it got it on the platform called rapidly see and precisely the information that there was available on the project. So, what many interesting things happened. The project could find information that was not up to date. Maybe 50% was executed, and in the plan it says that there was only 5%, that it was not even started. So the officers asked the plan why we had that difference. And basically, it was a problem of updating the information. Or other case in which effectively the information was the correct one, that you had advanced 5%. And in that case, what happened was that we generated that pressure to increase the execution of the project, both in the physical and financial part. We had that pressure, and not only by the officers, but also by, it has to be to do with the legislation. Uh, the House representatives in Costa Rica, at least, are are the ones that are mostly consult the platform, because they had to have their fresh information, so they could have information on the advance of the projects. So, so that was not the old way of going through the ministry. The ministry consults with the executors, and then that process of going and coming was eliminated. So what the House representatives now get is immediate information directly from the platform, and in a transparent way. And the mother point is that the information is used by officers, House representatives, but also and by politicians. The citizens have not had so much impact, but it's a systematic thing how the plan is being handled. The plan has a lot of information. It has all the information of the project, of the statistics of the country, but is consulted by the politicals and the academies. But the citizenship does not have a lot of knowledge of what is going on in the plan. That is a model part that we lack to get to the citizens, that they are interested in knowing what is going on, but that doesn't happen. So we're interested in modifying things that we can reach the citizens so that they can react to what we are doing. What the pressure is carried out by the people that we say that do consult the platform, but the part of the citizenship, it's not strong. The perception that we have of the plan of the one part of the citizenship is different. Jason, it's a perfect transition from for the exposition of Carlos Arroyo and of the director of open government and pro-ethics, which is the chapter of Peru. Why is a perfect transition? Because the challenge that more people knows it, it's still continues to be a challenge in Peru. The platform, there are two platforms that shows the public investment, and another platform that shows more specialized information, specialized in the use of the cannon and mining, which is Peru, mining country, for the reasons that Carlos will let us know. Now, what did Proetica did, and civil society. And I thank you, Carlos, to have you here. And I would like to also to tell you that's fundamental. That's Proetica jointly with other organizations and the support of the Moore Foundation took the challenge of to take Peru, mining country, to the territories, to the communities, for the communities to use the platform to translate this into something that has sense for the local communities. I would like you to share that experience, Carlos, and to do some publicity to a very interesting document that you have shared with us, and I think there are a couple of copies. Carlos, thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dominican Republic. Thank you all for being here. This event helps us understand and how the processes of democracy and citizens' participation are coming on, and the use of technology in order to improve our systems. We are seeing all the experiences in this open America. In Peru, we we had a complex initiative because we had to implement it during the pandemic. So imagine working with the communities in the midst of the pandemic. It was an additional challenge. But we found out that the Peru, our government was implementing a couple of platforms, one for investment called Investment Map in the territory, and which deals more with transparency, bringing information about the process of decentralization. And the one which I will talk about more, which is the map of investment Peru mining country. When we started with this country to let the civil society know about it, it created some impact because if it's true that we do have a great mining activity, but the social society does not want to assume that role because there have been some conflicts in certain moments. So naming it like this did cause some initial impact. The platform is very interesting because it gives information about public works, of the projects of investment that are taking place and executed with the funds that the state can acquire as a product of the mining extraction. So the ones that could be more interested are the communities or the societies, the citizens that have to do with these extraction projects. So the intention of this project was to pick up all the impressions that these citizens had and see how we could rescue recommendations that we could give to those that were in charge of this platform, which in this case was the direction of mining, and then to create a process of collaboration. This is what all the open government uh, deals in. The platform has an added value. It's because it is very friendly, more friendly than any of the other platforms that the government has. The second value that the citizens saw was that it has a space to generate the participation of the citizens. It's a box where the citizens can send his recommendations. Of course, we later will have to evaluate if this box has the immediate response that the citizens would like to have from the government. And this is something that is a bit more complex because the citizens not necessarily makes consultations on the competences that the Ministry of Mining might have. But we understand that in a consultation of this type, the the ministry was willing to answer these questions. The other thing is that the communities have an option to request that this information reaches their communities better in terms of how to use them, in terms of training, and what use, how they can use it. We, uh, we, we spoke with some of these districts to see how they worked. Of course, for example, the journalists would like to have a more elaborate product, to have more exact information, more precise information of what is happening. But communities sometimes which are affected by these type of industries in terms of environment also has to do with information on the supervision of these businesses if they have the proper licenses. And for example, the university students were interested in how to transmit this information in order to make citizen watch. So we had a training groups. We had we involved the university students in order to have the reports they requested. What what I'd like to transmit is that this platform has a great potential to generate a good governance among communities, in societies, in the business sector, and the government itself. But it's not going to work as well if if uh, if the government role it doesn't comply. For example, they should have a proper budget for the use of the platform. The platform could be very friendly and in terms of use and information, but if the people don't know about it or know very little about it or are not interested in its content and they don't use it, so this and this doesn't generate feedback, then from the social society platforms will not have all the information. We are aware of that because some are more specialized than others, but the interoperation becomes a key factor. So if the information is not in a determined platform, then it should be connected to others. Here we're talking about, for example, the mining and energy ministry, and this could be linked to public contract, to the economy ministry. There are series of links that can come about with among them for the citizen that is very interested, and it could be a very interesting exercise to make this connection among the state, social society, and businesses, which is vital for the development of our society. Thank you, Carlos. While you were speaking, I remembered an anecdote which I would like to share. And in the context of the pandemic, when all these platforms were being launched and the information was there for the communities, we had to deal with so many different things, the country, the family, personal topics. So they asked me the possibility of having a TV interview about this. And the day before, I said, I'm going to look at the projects, the comments, and I want to see what has been the reaction in order to have this interview with more current information. I wanted to do it as a user. I didn't want to ask the public officials. I wanted to know what had happened. So in the platform, when I go into the platform and I see that in a project in Cusco, which is a rural area in Peru, the father of a little girl asked about the state of advance in a project that had been stopped. This school, which is very important for my daughter, and this project is going to be very important for this community. And I noticed that all the effort had been of great use. A comment, and this helped me notice that all the efforts of the officials and the team that had worked from the civil society, that had accompanied constructively the process, had been worthwhile. One comment made me aware of this.
Thank you. And secondly, I would like to open a space to very quickly have a couple of questions from the public. There are a couple of hands raised, so if you could help us with the microphone, please, or we share the ones we have. Thank you for the exposition. Very good. Taking the Peruvian example, which is very interesting, and congratulations, I would like to ask if you have contemplated the investment map to also have initiative of the strategic industries of which Peru is part, and that measures the disposal of the private enterprise, also of the local governments and what they're receiving from these companies and what they are spending, which is a budget, local budget information. If that information is being contemplated and to produce within this investment map so that the government and the local community knows what's going on. If you like, I'll take a couple of questions and then we answer another question. If you can speak a little higher, please. Good morning. Thank you. Congratulations to all the panelists. It has been very important for all of us here to know that each of the countries have had some experience and development of investment map according to the necessity of each country, because there's a common factor which the investment map has, which is flexible and that's very valued by your countries. I would like to be in the case of Argentina, where you mentioned that there's many users, the most users in all the countries. And what has Argentina done to justly wake up the interest of the community? Because one thing is to launch the platform, but there's a lot of interest when you start. But how do you do to maintain that interest of the users? It would be good to know. Another question in the back. Thank you. Good morning. Gianni Santana, newspaperman. I'm a reporter. What is the process for the newspaperman or the reporter to have access and get the information in the investment man? Because here in the Dominican Republic, this never have they been talking about this. The news wants the information which is more finished with infography, and it's a platform that could help us have the data with more quality and more concrete. Thank you. Very spectacular to have people of the press in the panel. One more question? Okay. Hi. Good morning. Thank you for the presentations. I would like to make three questions, three subjects. If there is any alignment that the map has with the open contracting partnership or the IDS, cost IDS, and there is any synergy, or is it if it is aligned with the standard, and maybe a comment on the updating of the information and the challenges of coverage in public work. If we have the representation of the public works that the different institutions do, the experiences in those sense. Thank you.
Vamos a hacer una ronda de respuestas en el orden contrario al que empezamos. Si les parece, arrancamos con Carlos.
Carlos, I didn't hear it very well, but this is clear. We know of the initiative IT, and we know that the Peruvian country has that a commitment with that, and there is the government has been accomplishing this, but we have been closer to an interesting way with the proposal of the citizens, and we have collaborated in the investment map with the groups which they work with, and that is part of the agreement that we had. No, IT has its own platform, has its own dynamics. And here again, I say that the importance of the political will of the government. If they have the will, otherwise it doesn't work. A risk that we have for the processes to continue is linked to the permanent preoccupation of the ministers. Each minister, when they change them, they have less or more interest, and that paralyzes or wakens up the projects. For instance, the last activities that we had, since we had that exercise, it was very good because the updating of the map had not been good in the past. So by having it to be active was by communicating with the people in charge of the ministry, and it was very quickly updated. And there was no communication between the central government and the ministries. So for an answer for the news is for the press is, I'm not very sure if it was because one of the recommendations of the social society was the platform present open data, but the platform had already started to do so. So the platform offers investment maps and open data that can be interpreted by the society. In the case of the press, we have of the national press the interest of sharing the information and communicate what we are doing, who is in charge of the platform, and that helps us that the people in charge of the platforms expose what the platform is all about. We did not do it as on our own, but those who operate the platforms tells the people how this works, what are the benefits, what information it has, how they can download information. That's very practical. The consulting on this was also associated to the users in Argentina and reflections on how to maintain the users interested. What are the pillars of communications that Argentina has used around the investment map? Rosana? I think it's very interesting, and having into account that in the case of Argentina, the instrument of the investment map was accompanied by a project of adaptation to be able to have this instrument to know, for the citizens to know what was going on. At the first moment, we said what transparency meant. It's not something that was interesting for the press or the people. But in these 2 years, we have not been in a newspaper saying that there's a doubt on such and such public work, because the platform is accompanied by a communication instrument. How we understand transparency, it is not only sufficient to talk about transparency, but to show what the real transparency is. And this process of construction was there on screen. They could see. So we went from informing to evidence, to think how we can communicate this to the citizens, if it's little by little or open information that they could, each one could select what information they wanted to get. So this map, investment map of any government officer could check on this, as well as any citizen or the press is able to access this information. So that's one part. Even the football games have connected to this platform. The conceptualization, how we communicate that the public works has not only to do with the quantitative, but also quality. How to generate citizen confidence, how the citizen approaches us, which is originally not of interest of the citizens. So we started from that supposed, and see how we could communicate in a more easy, accessible way. And the area of transparency, which is transversal, produces interest and makes publications, has access to different observatories where we inform what is the map, what it has, what information you can get there. And now we see how to work with the government, the provincial governments, and the local governments to have the application of the investment map, because we have users that now come in, they connect to the platform and have better exhibition, and that's what we're working on right now. Thank you, Roxana. Good question. The question has to do with the press and the criteria for the selection of the information for the press. Martin Franco? Well, I would like to. We can we can talk the details when I go from the panel. We are structuring the course right now, and with this area of communications that we have, so I could put you in contact. I don't have the details. We have talked about the method of selection, but I don't have the details of the course because we are building on this. Thank you. Commenting on, because it were not especially asked to my question, to my country, but with the question of this friend, mapping, the investment map tries to be friendly with the user. For the time being, when you have the information that you request, but that it will be of easy access. So it's necessary, as the Costa Rican representative said, not only the user could be a member of the press of the academy or professional, but the common citizen could use it. That is the purpose of having this platform for the ones that's going to need a road, that needs a school. That's where we want to reach, so that they can have access. So with the Xiomara Castro president, we know that the country has to be transparent, both in the public works as in the budget, to be able to be there, the final user of the that the Inter-American Bank has. We have requested them to make it a strategy of investment, and before and after the launching of the investment map, the instrument can improve, but there is a lot of work to be done. But you must also know that this is based on the identity of each country, of the government of each country. Each country knows what the information, the method they have. For us, we would like to have information of the local governments, of the constitutional organizations, of private enterprises that have fiscal benefits, and that do country with contracts with the state that require to have their information open regarding the exoneration of customs dues, what type they need. All that information is necessary, but this is linked to the instrument of working with the information systems are going to be put in place, and the persons that are going to participate in it, and the ones things to improve is to explore the opinions that we have. And from my point of view, I think that the actual society does not want to look for deeply, but needs more level information that they can get easily. That your platform can tell you what are an area where you are, what projects are going on, what is the budget, see who is in charge, and continue watching over the work of the project, so that you can say on this day that the project was put in place, this started to build the bridge, and that would give more ideas, more information that doesn't want to have all the context of the public expense, but relatively something very punctual to its community. There is also the part, as I explained, that synergy between the contracting, purchasing, and the project as such. That definitely is very important points to look how they complement this instrument to be able to to improve regarding the request for information. In my case,
The portal of map investment, this information comes from the transactional systems like purchases, the system of public financial administration. So the information is transferred to the tool of map investments, so that the visualization of the information can be more accessible and behaves as open information for the citizens, or for whoever wants to use it. In this sense, the information is online, and it has no delay in terms of a budget or purchases or anything that is linked to the transactional system. So thank you so much. I would like to close making two short precisions. The line with OCP, we are partners with the initiative. We support ourselves on the open contracting standard. We have done it in Honduras and in Costa Rica, and we have done it in Dominican Republic. That what I mean is, also in Paraguay, the importance of this is fundamental, and we complementing what the deputy minister Ramirez was saying, as well as the director of budget, Dr. Ricalde. The fundamental premise of this tool is that it does that a person doesn't have to be there updating the information. If it creates an additional cost for the official, and it's not sustainable for the future, then, and also there is the possibility of discretion or error. Connecting themselves to the system, that is the projects, finance, banks, etc. So complementing the answer, the automation of the updating of the information is a fundamental criteria. I have learned a lot working with you hand by hand for years, but also in this panel that I have found to be fantastic. Please, let's give them a big hand and thank you. Thank them for being here.